Hi, this is Matura Express English again. I'm Katrin and today we are back with 2 oral exams on the topic of education, so stay tuned. Okay, so today we have the wonderful topic of education. Oh, hang on a second. Yes. Okay, so the first one is about new trends in education. So it's going to be about how technology moves into the classroom and how teachers should use it, something like that. And so the first thing, introduction, is the same as always. You will be asked some questions about your career, future plans, and so on. Then task 1 is about the history of education. So you are a professor for educational systems. You have been asked to hold a seminar for interested persons, the examiners, on the history of educational systems. So your task is you give a brief presentation on educational systems, and you talk about first a definition of education, then the development of educational systems, and then the positive changes of so many typos in there of these systems in the last 3 decades. Hang on a second. Okay. We'll care about that later. And then second task, new trends in education. After you talk, you open the discussion up to the questions about new trends in education from your audience. Use the information from the attached text. 3 trends that define the future of teaching and learning. You see the link here below. They're going to ask you some questions and you should ask them questions too. And then, oh no, sorry, I moved. That is the follow-up discussion. So you talk about the article, you bring in your own ideas, and then after the role play, you as yourself take an active part in a short discussion about the topic new trends in education with your examiners. They're going to ask you some questions, and you should ask them some questions too. Okay, hang on a second. And okay, there we are. So, any questions so far? No? Okay, then we'll start now. And I'm gonna...
Hello!
Hello!
Oh, wait a second, let me just move that a bit so that you can't see. Is that better? Yeah, perfect.
Yes, way better.
Hello.
Okay, hang on a second. So, hello, welcome to your English exam.
Thank
you. Would you like to introduce yourself to us and tell us something about your profession, please?
Of course. So, my name is Timna and I am a beautician. I work at a beauty salon. And yeah, that's basically what I do. And I'd like to, in the future, maybe take over that salon, and to do that I'd like to have some knowledge about business and how all of that works, because you kind of have to know that when you're running your own business. So that's why I would like to maybe go to uni and do some courses on that, and that's why I would like to do my Matura.
Okay. So the training to become a beautician, could you say something more about that? Like how that works, what you learn, what you have to do?
Well, it's basically a 3-year training. And what you do is you work at a salon or a hotel or anywhere that does all kinds of beauty treatments. And there you learn how to do different things, how to, well, depends on what you're doing, how to, do nails, or how to shape eyebrows, or how to do different face treatments, and all kinds of things. And so, yeah, basically during those 3 years you go do all kinds of different you go through different stages, and you learn a lot about about beauty and even about health, because you kind of have to know about that as well. And yeah, it's a really interesting process, I think.
Okay, one last question. Do you have any special responsibilities in your salon? Or
right now I don't really, but that's going to change soon, because we're going to have a bit of a change around in staff, so I might get a bit of a higher position where I have more important things to do, and I'm very excited about that.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you very much. And whenever you're ready, you may go ahead with task 1 and your presentation.
Okay. So today I'm here to talk to you about education and educational systems. So what is education actually? Basically, education is the process of giving and receiving knowledge, mainly or usually in school or some type of learning environment. And actually the history of educational systems is quite an interesting one. I'd say a very important point in the history of education would be the time when Empress Maria Theresia in Austria decided to make going to school obligatory for all children. So that's, to me, is a very, very important and very it's something that you really have to kind of keep in mind. And since then, education and educational systems have changed quite a lot. For the better, of course, because education, especially higher education, used to be only for rich people, only for people that kind of came from important families who could afford to send their kids to school or to, university, college. But nowadays, at least in Austria, everybody can go to university because it's basically free, and you just have to have your Matura exam, which then enables you to study, which is amazing. And yeah, that's, I think, a very, very important thing for people to be able to have access to education, because it's very important to be able to move on in life to have education. And also what has changed in the last years is that educational systems have become more and more kind of individual. People can do more things that they are interested in. It's more kind of tailored to the students, to every student themselves. And you have more kind of ability to choose your own path. You have more possibilities also to do different things, and you can be even more creative, I feel like. So that's something that's really very good about the educational systems, especially in Austria, I feel like. And yes, I think that's basically all I wanted to say today. Do you have any questions about that?
Well, thank you for your very interesting talk. And the last point was that you said that education has become more and more individually. And so what do you think about having like schedules in school where children choose, don't have like a set timetable, but choose in the best of their interests, and then maybe choose how to create a YouTube channel or whatever?
Yes,
What do you think about that?
I think that's a very good idea, because everybody has different kind of interests and wants to do different things and maybe try out different things. Of course, we all need kind of basic knowledge of, maths, English, biology, just some basic things. But then moving on from that, I think it's really important to be able to choose what you want to do yourself, because if you're sitting in a class where we're not really interested in that, and then you won't really study and it won't really get you anywhere.
Okay. And what do you think about all these new technologies moving into the classroom? Do you think it's a good thing, or are there any dangers you would say we need to look out for?
Oh, that's definitely a good thing, I feel, because you can do a lot more things. You can show things differently. It can be all very interactive and fun to look at. But then again, you have to kind of also remember not to use too much technology, because it can overpower the actual knowledge. So technology can help a lot, but you have to keep in mind not to use it too much. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you have to have definitely like very well educated and like a teacher that are well aware of all the dangerous things. But I think it's very necessary that we have the new technologies not shut out from school, because then we create like parallel worlds.
Especially because they're part of our lives now.
Yes. So because we're right in, let's move to the follow-up discussion then. And in your school history, would you say you met the new technologies a lot, or were your teachers very reluctant to use them, or what was new technology then?
When I was at school, it was kind of starting to, school started to have more and more, to include more and more technology, and I think we slowly started using computers, or there was a computer in every class instead of the big books that teachers used to have to carry around, because I remember that too. That was kind of the transition, was when I went to school and we started to use beamers and have kind of beam things on the walls, which was really interesting for us, and it was fun to kind of be in that change and witness that, and it made things a lot easier. Especially what I remember is watching films. So because sometimes when you're in school you can, or sometimes there's lessons, especially maybe in history, where you watch films, like historical films.
It's always history.
Yeah, of course. And in primary school, for example, we had this TV on rolls that you would wheel around from class to class, and it was like, it was big, but it wasn't that big, so we all had to kind of sit in a circle around the TV. And then as time moved on and we got these beamers, it was really nice to just sit there in your chair and watch the movie that was so big on the wall. That's something that I really remember. And also VHS tapes.
Yes, of course.
That didn't work, and so on and so forth.
So, if you were a teacher today, what would you like to use and bring to the classroom? What fun software, what fun free shareware on the net? Well, would there be anything you'd like to introduce to the students?
I think it depends on the subject. But I feel like there's lots of different programs and applications out there that can be used, as I said, especially for different subjects. I don't know, some for maths that show you some exercises, or where you can kind of interactively, I don't know, do some games or vocabulary games for language classes and so on. So I think there's lots of different things you can do, but I don't have one specific thing in mind right now. Okay.
Would you, but with all these new technologies and there's obviously social media, it's a very big thing among students, would you be, what do you think of teachers being friends with people on Facebook, with their students?
I think that should be avoided, because it's kind of, that ruins kind of that professional relationship, because then there's less and less difference between student and teacher, and I feel like there should be a difference, because otherwise the students won't take you seriously anymore. That's just the way it is. You kind of have to be a some kind of authority to have students really listen to you, and that won't work if you're friends with them on Facebook and, I don't know, sharing pictures with them or something like that. So I feel like that really has to be kept separate, right?
Okay, yeah.
What do you feel about that?
I don't see the reason why I should be friends with students on Facebook, because I think you can, if it's for communication, there's so many better ways or apps or whatever
platforms for that
to use that. If it's for exchanging information, there's so many other ways you can do. Then I think social media is mainly for sharing your private life. Yeah. And I think you're very right. There should be like a professional distance between teachers and students. Exactly. Yes. Okay. So, well, thank you for this very interesting exam, and that's the end of it. And then let's see what I've noted down.
Oh, I think you have to tilt it.
Yes.
Because otherwise...
No, it won't. Oh, wait. No, wait.
No. You switch it.
Any idea? How can you?
Does anybody in the live chat have an idea? Not really.
Ha! Just
That's,
shook it. I don't know if that helped, but it worked. Okay, let's go. Let's see. Okay. The introduction was a very vivid description of what a beautician does, of how the salon works, and very nice examples. I mean, I do not know what a beautician does, and so it's always very nice if you have good examples to just show the examiners that you know your stuff, that you know your work, that you know the vocabulary for your jobs and stuff. And then also Timna could easily answer questions for her plans and for her daily routines and stuff, and that was really nice. So she was well prepared for that. Then task 1, the introduction for the talk was very nice. She led the listener through her presentation, and that's what I mean with structure down here. There was a repetition of the bullet points, so we know what she was talking about again. She had historic background, but also the current state of art, about the access to schools, about the individualism, and always very nice examples for that. So the talk was well structured and therefore good to listen to, and there was she didn't pause or anything. There was a really nice flow to it. And then in task 2, there was a very friendly and positive atmosphere, how Timna answered the questions. She always, there was a great affirmation for my questions or what I thought, and then she put her own examples, extended her answers, and that was a really nice style of talking and answering the questions. And then in the follow-up discussion, Timna always had fun facts and stories to underline her point, and that is also what makes the follow-up discussion very nice to talk or to discuss as an examiner. If you have someone who just says, oh yes, and this and that, okay. So, and her style became more and more, she very loosened up because she changed her role from task 1 to the follow-up discussion. Then there's one thing, and I think that's a false friend. Beamer is projector in English. Yeah? Okay, good. That's always the thing that we use, in the German language, that we use these false friends, like Beamer, Handy, whatever. So
all those terms that are actually English terms that you kind of have in your head.
Yeah. But maybe if I would have been a nicer examiner, I had said something, but well, okay, I didn't. But it's just one word, and if it's a false friend, then it's the examiner knows where it comes from. So don't worry about that, okay? Yeah, well done. And we'll see like a second exam in a minute. Let's close that. Okay. There we are again. Okay. So, second exam in the topic or in the field of education is about the British versus the Austrian school system. Very exciting. You obviously will be asked some questions about your career and future plans, and then it's the British and Austrian school system differences and things they maybe share. You're a teacher in Austria, but originally from Great Britain. You have been asked to give a talk in your school about the two different school systems. So you give a talk to the audience about the differences in the British and Austrian school system. You talk about the positive aspects of the British school system and also the positive aspects of the Austrian school system, and then you talk about we don't care. And then you talk about how the two differ, okay? You're not there to bash one or the other school system, it's just like where are differences. Then in task 2, it's about changes in the British school system. After your talk, you open the discussion up to questions about necessary changes in the British school system. Use the information from the attached text. You see it down here. The British education system needs fundamental change, as well as your own ideas during the conversation. And then at the end, it's the follow-up discussion. After the role play, take an active part in a short discussion about the topic British and Austrian school systems with your examiners. They're going to ask you some questions, and you should ask them some questions too. Okay, you ready?
I am.
Yes.
I will appear. I will, yes.
Okay. Just gonna. Okay, I'm ready as well. So welcome to your English exam.
Thank you.
Very nice that you came in for a second one. And why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us something about your job?
Yes, so my name is Susie, and I am a car technician. So I work at a car fixing
A garage?
like a mechanic's garage. Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was kind of.
That's okay, just go on.
I'm a bit nervous today. You know, it's my big day. So yes, so that's where I work, and I really like my job, but I'm not sure if that's going to be kind of my final destination in terms of career. So I thought right now I have some time, so let me just do the Matura, so then I have lots of opportunities if I want to take them.
Okay, if you say you don't know whether that's the place or the job you want to stay in, do you have some slight idea whether you want to do something completely different or stay in the same field but do something similar?
I don't know exactly, but as I have a lot to do with cars and motors and all those things, things of technical nature, I would be actually really interested to do something in the field of technical engineering or something like that, to maybe try that out and see if that's something that I'd like to do. But nothing specific really.
Okay.
We'll see.
So what was your motivation to become active in the field of mechanics?
Well, I've always really liked cars, and I've always been very good with doing handiwork and crafts. So that's how, and one day, actually a friend of mine, his dad is a mechanic, so he let me come in and see what he's doing, kind of follow him around for a day of work, and I really liked that, so I decided that I wanted to do that as well.
Okay, very nice, very interesting, and I think you're the first female mechanic we have in this classroom. And then whenever you're ready, you please start with task 1 in your talk.
Of course. So what we are going to talk about today is school systems, especially in Britain and in Austria. Because there are two very different school systems with which both have their positive and negative aspects. But today we're going to mainly focus on the positive aspects of both of them. So let me start with the British school system, as that's the one that I had the honor to experience as a child. So the British school system is very individual from a very early age on. So you can choose a lot of your own classes, and you don't have as many classes as you have in Austria, but they're kind of bigger, and there's a broader spectrum of different types of subjects you can take. And so that way, yeah, you can really specify what you want to do in life quite early on, which of course can also have its negative sides. But if you know what you want to do, that's a very good thing, and you can really, yeah, focus on that from a very, very early age. And in Austria, on the other hand, the school system offers a lot of general knowledge. So you kind of have the same subjects all the way through, but in the end, in the last few years, there's more kind of different things that you can choose and you can also specify in, but it's not that individual as it is in Britain. Which of course means that, as I said, you have more general knowledge, you have more kind of knowledge in maths, maybe in German, biology, and all those things that kind of are quite important in life to know about, which might not be the case in Britain. And that's really where the two systems are different from each other. So one is really a lot more individual, and the other one has a lot more general knowledge. And in Austria, you can kind of specify what you want to do at a later stage than in Great Britain. Yes, I believe that's what I wanted to say about this part. Is there any questions?
Yes. Thank you for your interesting talk. And I would like to know, do you think that there's one thing that the Austrian school system should copy from the British school system?
I believe we should have more different types of subject, because of course there's different schools in Austria that have a wider range of subjects, but if you're going to just a general school where you only have the typical subjects like maths, German, English, biology, geography, and all those things, you might kind of want to also do something about, economics, or something about some more specific things about art or cooking, or all kinds of different things which you aren't able to do in every school in Austria.
Okay. Yeah. And do you know of any debate or anything that is going on in Great Britain about their school system? Or are there any voices that say the British school system should do this, should do that? Yes,
I've heard that people want the British school system to change because they feel like their children have to decide at a very young age what they want to do in life, which can be very hard because not everybody knows at the age of, 10 what they want to do later on. So people kind of would like to have more choice or more freedom for their children to try different things without focusing on one and having to choose one right away.
Okay, and I think one last question. Yeah. Do you think that school uniforms would be a good thing for the Austrian school system?
That's something that's very highly discussed in Austria. I feel like it would be a good idea because that way it's especially good for the social environment, I feel like, because that way everybody's kind of the same. And if you're talking about, I don't know, clothes and children, picking on each other about having not the right clothes, or I don't know, different kinds of clothes, brands and things like that, which can be a big thing in for students or for children in that age. So for that aspect, I think it would be a good idea, but then again, kind of every school has to decide that on their own, so it's not that easy.
Okay, well, thank you for your talk.
Yes.
And let's move on to the follow-up discussion. And what is, like, you as Susie, what is your personal statement on school uniform? Would you have loved it or hated it in school?
I don't know. I've thought about it a lot, but I think I would have liked it because I kind of like the way they look. Of course, there can be different types of school uniforms, but in general, I like the way they look, and I like kind of not having to think about what to put on in the mornings. But then also you can't really kind of... Personally, I like to pick out my outfits, and I like to think about what I'm going to wear, so that's something that you can't do if you have to wear a school uniform every day. So I'm really not sure. What do you think? Would you have liked one?
I think in school, I would have hated it probably.
Yeah.
Because I would have felt forced into something. But then as a grown-up now, I think it's it takes away so much pressure from many kids to
kids and parents maybe as well.
Yes, to just afford these things that kids want to have, or and also take away maybe some attention from the outer appearance.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if everybody looks the same, then it's not so important anymore.
Yeah.
And then maybe like knowledge and how you co-work with your students maybe move more to the front.
Yeah, that's true actually. That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult topic. But what do you think about the British students like specializing so early in the stage of education? What do you think about that?
Well, I always used to kind of envy the British school system, because they had so much choice and they kind of could pick from such a variety of different things. But then again, I never really thought about them having to choose at such a young age what they want to do. So I think it's actually better, or maybe a bit better in Austria, because you have more general knowledge and kind of you then just specify later on and you just take more time. But I don't know, I'm not sure.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I would feel that students start limiting themselves because they maybe choose the easy subjects and then don't want to push themselves too hard. I think I'm a fighter for the general knowledge, for broad Matura, and then go on from there, specialize from there. So what were your favorite subjects in school?
I really liked languages because that was something that came really easy to me. So I liked English. I also had French and a bit of Spanish, which I really liked a lot. Something I hated was maths because I just couldn't work it out, and I had a teacher that was just terrible, and I think she didn't like me, so it was even worse, and it was a nightmare. But yeah, I liked kind of languages. And you?
Hated languages,
Really?
actually. Yeah, I was really bad at them
Yeah.
up until I did my exchange year in the States.
Ah.
But then afterwards, I had just teachers that
Right.
I couldn't connect with. So
Yeah,
it was just
and
like,
that's really important.
yeah. And then I hated math because I think my math brain is just missing.
Yeah, same here.
I just don't. At some point, I just don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But then I had the greatest math teacher ever.
Really?
And actually, then when I did wrote my exams, like math was my best subject.
Really?
Because she was so good explaining like this step, that step, that step. And I was like, okay, this, that. And then it was okay.
Oh, that's interesting. It's okay.
Dropped my pen. Yeah, so I think students should be forced to do like a broad range of subjects because you never know how it turns out.
Yeah, that's true.
And well, okay, let's leave it at that. Well, thank you for the exam.
Thank you.
The last one for today. And
Can we see? Oh,
no, sitting in front of it. Okay,
that's fine.
Like that. Okay. So the introduction was very nice. When Timna was missing, or Susie was missing a word, like the garage mechanic thing, the nice thing was that she tried to move around it and described it, what this thing is, this car fixing place. Yeah, so, do that, because show us, or the examiners, that you know what you want to say. Don't be silent, just work your way around it, and then somebody will jump in and help you. And then you can go on with the conversation, but show them that you're able to go on with the conversation, although you're just missing this one little word, okay? And then she seemed very undecided about her future plans, and that's okay if you don't know, but she also gave reasons why she doesn't know what she might want to do. And that's nice, because then the examiners get to know you a bit better and you talk, yeah? And that's the important thing in an oral exam. And then task 1 was a very nice talk about the Austrian and British school system. The introduction was very nice and led into the structure of the talk. Susie Timna said why she's talking about that, and then set out the plan for the talk. And that is always very nice. She talked about Great Britain being more individual, Austria being more of the general knowledge type of school system. And then, and in task 2, we talked about the wide range of subjects and what change Great Britain might need to undergo. And then it was very nice that Timna, she used like these what are these words again? The signposts. Ha! So we talked about that some weeks ago, and then she started with it is highly discussed, and then she started with her point and went on, and that's also in the follow-up discussion. In general, I would say, and stuff, and that is really a very nice way and a very competent way of using language. And you should really focus on that, to have some of these verbs and words and phrases in your repertoire, so to just get them out here and then, because it shows a higher level of competence in your language level. Okay, but very nice, this exam again. And so that's the end of it. Next week we'll be back with a big surprise. We don't know yet. Oops. And then, yes, we'll see you next week. Timna's going to be then in front of the camera again. And then in 2 weeks we're going to have another oral exam. So same as always. And that's it for today. Bye-bye.